content creators. So at some point a few years ago, they created the subroutine app, bot, whatever you want to call it, that actually goes through the entire, and this is amazing to me, the entire YouTube library. The millions and hundreds of millions, maybe billions of video clips that are on YouTube, goes through and searches them, samples the music that may exist there, and determines whether or not that music might be a copyright violation or not. Yeah, it's frightening. And on top of that, you're guilty until proven innocent. So, if we have a piece of video, and most of ours do, that has music attached to it in the background, or as a theme, opening and close music, something like that, YouTube at some point is going to find it, going to sample it, and if you can't prove you have the right to use that music, they block you. And what they generally do is they block you, and then say, you want to talk to us about this? Or they block you, and they wait until you find out about it. That's how it usually happens. They block it, we don't know, some viewer goes to look for a Caloris episode from 15 years ago, can't watch it, calls us up and say, hey, what's up with this Caloris that I want to watch? Why can't I see it? Oh, heck, and we look at it and sure enough, it's been blocked by YouTube because there was some music in there that YouTube thinks might be a copyright violation. So they block it. And then we got to go to YouTube, and it's a very laborious process on their part. Not great quality control in my opinion, but it seems to work for them. To justify that you do have the rights to this music, and that and then once you've gone through this process, they will unlock it and you're good to go. And hopefully that doesn't happen again. I haven't had it happen a second time. Once we get the rights, YouTube's pretty good about having that metadata attached to it that says, yeah, this is okay. I don't know what happens in Canada or Mexico because those are also different broadcast rights, but we don't have a lot of overlap there, so we're okay. But I know some friends of mine who have stations along the Canadian border, the Mexican border, who this is a huge issue for them. So people in the United States will be able to watch a video, but people in Mexico or Canada will not be able to watch it because the broadcast rights don't exist, or the music copyrights don't exist in those places. Huge issue. The digital rights issue is way behind technology. I mean, so far behind it's not even in sight. I don't know how they're going to make that up. But YouTube it's a big bone of contention that we have with YouTube in terms of putting content on there. But at the same time, it's one of our biggest competitors for eyeballs. So if we're not participating and we're not competing in that area online, we got a problem. Now, one of the ways we do that is through Cove. So PBS, seeing that there was this problem, they created their own video player, separate from YouTube. So I need to create something for broadcast. I need to encode it in such a way that it goes out over the air and it reaches your home and your TV set. I need to re-encode it in a different way so that it's available for YouTube. And I need to re-encode it a third time for Cove because there's just enough of a difference between YouTube and Cove that they don't always work the same way. So I need to encode every program I create 3 times. Okay? We're working on figuring out a way to flatten that out. But the advantages to using Cove are, it's a PBS product, not a YouTube product, and PBS looks at us and says, you're professionals, we trust you when you say you have the rights to this, we believe you. So we're not going to, you're innocent until proven guilty. If somebody comes along and complains, we're going to ask you about it and ask you to demonstrate that you have the rights to this, or the rights to this music or whatever. But otherwise, you're good to go. So we can put whatever we want up on Cove. And then what Cove did that was really smart is they linked to Roku, Apple TV, Xbox, Sling, and a couple of other online providers. If you're not aware of what those devices are, you need to be because they're awesome. I'm a Roku fan myself, but my son's Apple TV. My wife is Xbox. But you can watch a lot of PBS product on these devices. It has a PBS channel. You can go there and you can see our local programs for as long as you want because we own them and we put them on Cove and we put the broadcast, the distribution rights on the internet indefinitely. And you can see those as long as you want, whenever you want, on Roku or any of these channels. And they're not coming to us and saying, you don't have the rights to this. So it's there as long as you want it to be. And in terms of the national programming, it's a little bit different story. Okay? And this is, again, kind of goes back to the quality viewing experience. We have a problem with this because generally the broadcast rights for something like Masterpiece Theater or Nova is only 2 weeks. I mean, the internet rights are only for 2 weeks. So, for instance, if you want to watch Downton Abbey on Roku, you got 2 weeks after the episode broadcast to watch it on Roku, otherwise it's gone. We would love it if it was for the full season. But the people who created Downton Abbey, they want to make a little extra money, so they have signed a contract with Amazon. And if you pay Amazon X amount of dollars, you will get the full season. For PBS, you only get the last 2 weeks. Now, that's not bad. I mean, if you've missed it, you know, if you're a typical Downton Abbey viewer, you're probably not waiting 2 weeks to watch that episode. But we do have people who will wait to the end of the season so they can binge watch the whole thing over a weekend. They don't get to watch it on Roku. So this is a viewing experience issue that we're wrestling with that has to do with broadcast versus internet rights. And it is an ongoing debate, especially between PBS stations and PBS nationally. Now, live streaming, which is throwing everything out the window. So I've had people any number of times ask me, you know, I don't even have a TV set. I watch, you know, everything I watch video-wise, I watch on the computer. And why can't I see your channel on the computer? I mean, how hard can it be just to pipe KNME into the internet and stream it so I can watch it on my computer rather than watching it over the air? It's easy. I've done it. It was illegal. I didn't have the rights to do that. Again, going back to broadcast rights. I don't have the rights to Downton Abbey to distribute it via streaming, via the internet. So I can't put that up. I could stream every Caloris episode and every In Focus episode and every Public Square episode, shows that we create and we have all the rights to, indefinitely, as much, but you get pretty tired of that after a few hours. You would have seen everything, right? So you want to see the other PBS programming, we don't have the rights to do that. The rights for that are very spotty. So live streaming has become kind of a new platform just for distributing content over the internet. It's not quite the same as Roku. It's kind of the same, kind of different, but it has its own set of rights. And on top of that, now you enter into closed captioning. Closed captioning is required by law, and there's a specific process we go through, and the FCC determines what the quality of closed captionings are supposed to be and how accurate they're supposed to be and all this stuff. The FCC has very strict guidelines on closed captioning, and they have increased those standards significantly over the past couple of years. So the pressure is really on us to provide really high quality closed captioning. I didn't really think about this that much, you know, whatever. Now my ears ain't so good anymore, and closed captioning I have it turned on all the time because half the time I can't understand what's being said and I'm reading it. So now I understand why closed captioning is so important. But closed captioning for broadcast is a process that is completely different than closed captioning for the internet. And if you remember, I was talking about I have to encode it once for YouTube and another way for Cove. Same thing with closed captioning. I have to do closed captioning one way for broadcast, one way for YouTube, one way for Cove, and nobody knows how to do it for live streaming. The FCC has required us to provide captioning on live streaming anytime it's done simultaneously or within a certain time period of that broadcast. So the example I bring up is last January, the State of the Union address. The President speaking to the nation. You watch it on broadcast or on CNN or on any network and you're going to see the President, you're going to see closed captioning there. Beautiful closed captioning. If you were to go on the internet and you were to go to PBS's website, NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, Al Jazeera, I watched them all, nobody was closed captioning the live stream. Even though the FCC was 1 month away from putting those rules into law and saying you have to do this by law, nobody was doing it because nobody knows how. Nobody has a process that can simultaneously caption, well, I shouldn't say that. We actually know how, but we can't afford it. Okay? We don't have a process that we can afford that can do simultaneous broadcast and live stream captioning. Somebody needs to invent that black box. If there's an engineer in the room who wants to take that on, please talk to me. But that black box does not exist yet. I can't imagine this is a hard thing, but it doesn't exist. And we've been to trade shows, we've asked captioning companies all over the place. Nobody yet is doing that. There's something fundamental about closed captioning on the internet, particularly live streaming, that is incredibly difficult, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know what that is. But that's a process that somebody's got to figure out, because by law you have to do it. So what is this going to mean? It means that there's not going to be a lot of live streaming content that is being broadcast at the same time. You're probably not going to see, if somebody hasn't figured it out, you won't see the State of the Union address or anything else, frankly, on television and live streamed at the same time. There will have to be a month delay before it's legal. All right, viewer services, this is customer service. A lot of what we do is about customer service. A lot of what I've been talking about is about customer service. So we have a few processes in place to ensure, again, a quality experience to the viewer. Viewer services, we have a phone number, and again, by law, the FCC says you have to have a phone number available to anybody. It has to be an 800 number so that somebody out of your calling area